Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. We are back in the red studio. The summer's coming to an end. It's happening. But on the bright side, the fall is right around the corner. Pumpkin spice everything, fall clothes. And I don't know, the September start of the year is always like the real start of the year, much more so than January, isn't it? Since you were a kid, it's when you started your new school year, and it's when our kids now are starting their new school years. And there's something exciting about that. So anyway, onward. It may feel like it's the waning days of a slow summer Monday, but not in Washington, D.C., where the future of world peace could be at stake today. As Ukrainian's President Zelensky makes his return to the White House for a meeting with President Trump, first time back since that disastrous meeting in February, plus a bunch of other European leaders tagging along. Marco Rubio says we invited them. I mean, I guess it's good they're there. It's nice to have other leverage points against Zelensky besides just Trump and JD threatening him. I don't know that he's going to do what anybody wants, but at least they're in his neighborhood. Like, they have a bigger stake in this than we do. So yeah, welcome to the party. This follows President Trump's high-profile summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday, sent the media into meltdown. Plus, James Comey is joining Substack and making a complete fool out of himself. Joining me now on all of these stories and more, our pal Walter Kirn. He's editor-at-large of the newspaper County Highway and co-host with Matt Taibbi of the America This Week podcast. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. You know the feeling. Someone in your family gets sick and then you're stuck waiting for a doctor's appointment, or the pharmacy's out of stock and then you're left wondering why something so basic has to be so hard. Too many American families face this reality, and this is why many are turning to all-family pharmacy. They're doing what Big Pharma won't, which is putting families back in control and making it possible to be proactive, not reactive, with your health. This is not just some online pharmacy. All-family pharmacy is based in Florida and family-owned, and there you can order ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, daily maintenance meds, emergency kits, everything you'd want to have on hand before you need it. You're going on like a trip. You want to get some of these things in your suitcase before the crisis hits. Order online and they will work with licensed doctors to provide the prescription for you. Then your medications get shipped right to your door. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Megyn. Use that code Megyn10 to get 10% off your order today. Again, go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Megyn and do use that code Megyn10 when you check out to get 10% off your order today. Be prepared. Be in control. This is healthcare that works for you. Walter, welcome back.
Great to be here.
Great to have you. All right, so, it doesn't look like we got anything out of Friday's meeting with Putin yet, right? Yet. I don't think Trump was expecting to spike the ball in the end zone and dance back down that red carpet. But he's trying to get a dialogue going on stopping this war, on ending this war, something that's been completely stalled and going nowhere. So now he brings Zelensky to the table along with these European leaders. And unfortunately, it looks like if this thing ends and when it ends, it's going to end on terms that are not favorable to Ukraine. They're going to have to give up the territory that Putin has seized. I think all they seem to be debating is whether they're going to have to give up even more territory than that, which Zelensky appears to say he won't, too. Who could blame him? But all of this, sadly, is not a result of Donald Trump's inability to negotiate an end to a war. It's as a result of the fact that Ukraine lost the war, and there's really not much more we can do to help them other than try to stop the bleeding. That's my take on it. Where do you stand?
Well, first of all, I think any right-thinking person should want this to succeed. But apparently there are a lot of people who don't, because the coverage of Friday's meeting focused unduly on Trump's reception of Putin, as though to meet another nuclear-powered world leader is something that you should do and insult the person. I mean, he shook his hand, he waved to him, he did all sorts of things that showed he was, receptive to his office, and he was punished for it. He's been punished for it, hourly. I think there's a huge faction of people that don't want to see this war to end. They don't want to see the expenditures to end. They wouldn't. They don't seem to mind the 15,000 people a week who are dying and so on. But I think it's absolutely the prelude to the future that we get this over. How do we move on with this thing going on, with this open-ended proxy war with the biggest nuclear power in the world? So as far as the European leaders showing up, I remember the Gilligan's Island song. They'd say, the skipper and Marianne and the rest. They all came in as a chorus. They just jumped on. They jumped on planes, right. And they ran, and they're forming a group shot like a high school class in the background, and that tells me something might happen because they seem to want to be in on it.
Yep. And the press over the weekend was trying to say, oh, they're doing it to babysit Trump. They're doing it to make sure that Trump doesn't give away the farm, or that, Zelensky's got backup. Marco Rubio pointing out to Margaret Brennan, I think we have it. They're there because we asked them to come. We invited them. Do we have it? Let's play it.
There is concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow. Can you?
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming as back. That's not true. No, but that's not why. That's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. This is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
Because it would be great, Walter, if they could do more. This is their neighborhood. This is not even our neighborhood. Like, we're a superpower, so we've gotten involved. We're trying to put an end to it. But the Europeans, what leading role have they played? They should be here.
As though they have the power to bust into the office and say, don't you bully that man. I mean, they are there, as I say, to form a group shot in the background. I doubt that any of them are hanging over Trump's shoulder or hanging over Zelensky's shoulder saying, don't be bullied. I think it's classy of Trump to invite them. It's good to have them there. You're right. They belong there. It's their continent after all. But the idea that everything must be spun negatively toward Trump at this point is ridiculous. Let the guy negotiate the end to a war that he didn't start. Okay.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't there when this thing started. And, I don't know what good it is for Putin to say it wouldn't have happened if Trump had been in office. That's a wonderful hypothetical and a compliment, I suppose. But Trump didn't start this. He's trying to end it. It's a bloody war. It has the possibility of breaking into a kind of superpower war at any moment. It's as tense in some ways as the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, we've never launched missiles into Russian territory, which we basically did by proxy from Ukraine in the last month of Biden's presidency. That could have gone south in ways that only Hollywood has ever depicted.
It's a good point. And now Trump is trying to have a good relationship with Putin, another nuclear power, and giving away minor things in order to help that. Like, there's a red carpet out on the tarmac, like the president does the sort of glad handing, mild clap as Putin's coming toward him, which is a friendly gesture. Does anybody really think Trump's in favor of, the killing of civilians by Russia and Ukraine? This is his version of diplomacy. He's treating Putin the way he would want to be treated. He'd want a warm welcome. He likes pomp and circumstance. He's like, who gives a shit? This doesn't cost us anything.
Has anyone ever seen The King and I or any movie about majesty?
Yes.
The person who's gracious is the powerful person. Trump's taller. He has the bigger plane. He made Putin walk between freaking stealth fighter jets. He flew a B-2 over his head. What is he, what's he supposed to do? Follow him with a crocodile or something? I mean,
right. They want a meeting in like Wayne's World basement in order to put Putin where he belongs, as opposed to giving him any sort of celebratory welcome. It's like, this stuff costs us nothing. On the world stage, we've elevated him. Oh, come on. Literally everybody in the world knows Putin. They know who he is. They know what he's capable of. And they know exactly what Trump is doing too. All of that is ridiculous. It's a gesture to say, I'm here in good faith to have a negotiation with you.
That's a great point, Megyn. The rest of the world knows Vladimir Putin. The rest of the world has not been propagandized for 10 years to believe that there should be no talking to this man, that he secretly controls Trump from behind the scenes. I mean, does anybody really believe that after seeing them together? I sure as didn't. After I saw 10 seconds of the footage between the two of them, I felt like Trump was going to hand Putin his briefcase and ask him to carry it, or his golf bag. I felt he was being, if anything, a little too dominant. I was like, you don't need to fly the bomber over his damn head.
The B-2s are big. I thought it was actually kind of awesome. It was a badass move. It was a flex. Yeah. It was like the ultimate flex to fly those things overhead. And Putin seemed a little jarred, like, whoa, what's that? Because of course, if you're Vladimir Putin, you have to be worried, like, they're about to take me out. That's got to be a daily fear on his part. And certainly the odds of you being taken out while you're standing next to Donald Trump, the sitting U.S. president, are slim. But there had to be at least a moment of, oh, shit, what's happening? So that's good. It was Trump's way of like making him feel a little unsteady while he, peppered the field with these meaningless niceties that also sent another message. I can be nice or I can be nice, not nice. That's quintessential Trump.
And he made him come to us. He made him come to Alaska. It's right. Not like the beauteous, sophisticated spot of the world to have to come to Alaska, to our most, our chilliest and frozen frontier outpost.
It's right at home for Putin.
Exactly. I mean, every single law of hospitality suggests that when people come to you and are willing to have B-2 bombers flown over their heads and walk between rows of your fighter planes, you can at least shake their damn hand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, then the media was like, oh, but it's Alaska and Russia used to own Alaska, so this is a win for Putin. It's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. It's the United States. Alaska is part of the United States of America. It is a win that he came to us. Look, Trump is not doing diplomacy the way we always were told it needed to be done. We would have been told, yes, that it had to be like you couldn't shake his hand. You had to have a scowl on your face. And also, the old way would have been the two world leaders would not even meet until there was a deal on the table. Like Marco Rubio and Sergei Lavrov would have already negotiated an end to this thing before the two principals would have shown their face. Trump just doesn't do things like that. He is a deal maker himself. He thinks, I can get this done. The more time I spend with this guy, the more I've advanced the ball toward ending it. And no one can understand that. They look at his behavior through their own old prisms without recognizing it's a new day. This is a new guy. All those old rules are out the window. He's doing it his way.
The last time Putin was on U.S. soil was in 2015. He visited the United Nations in New York, and he met with Obama. There was none of this analysis then of every single facial feature and handshake and so on. The right of a U.S. president to talk to a Russian leader, it was not questioned. And between the people who didn't want this to happen at all and the people who wanted it to fail, I really question whether or not, especially on the Democratic and sort of liberal side, peace is still a value at all. They give it lip service, but this is what it looks like. Enemies meeting. Okay. They have enemies must meet for there to be peace. If you can't stand that part, then you can't stand the rest. And to say that you're for it in theory means you have to be able to bear it in practice.
Yeah, I don't know what they want. They want Trump to stand firm. They want Putin to give up the territory that he seized in Ukraine. Okay, but what if he won't? What if he will just keep killing Ukrainians on and on and on for another 5 years? Is that a win at the end of that? If then somehow with U.S. backing, when we're on the brink of nuclear world war, then Putin says, okay, you can have 10% of what I took back. How is that better than just letting him keep what he's taken, what the Ukrainians were not able to win back during the course of the war? Sorry, but it's a war and it's not going well for Ukraine. That's not a win. At this point, it's about cutting losses. And here's the other thing, for us domestically, the American people no longer support our involvement in any way in this war. But here's something that was apparently given up that's not going to go over well with MAGA. Here's the presidential envoy, Steve Witkoff, saying they did agree to something. He, as the envoy prior to Putin getting here, it's SOT 10.
We agreed to robust security guarantees that I would describe as game-changing. We didn't think that we were anywhere close to agreeing to Article 5 protection from the United States, in legislative enshrinement within the Russian Federation, not to go after any other territory when the peace deal is codified, legislative enshrinement in the Russian Federation, not to go after any other European countries and violate their sovereignty. So we agreed to there was plenty more.
Okay, I just want to say a couple of things about this. First of all, any agreement by Putin not to go after additional territory, let's face it, it's not worth the paper that it's printed on. He's going to do what he wants to do unless you have real incentives built in to stop him. And that's where we've apparently agreed to act as though Ukraine is in NATO by the U.S. providing security guarantees if Russia violates its written word not to do something else to Ukraine, which is not really what MAGA wanted. We don't really want to be the world's policeman and have to back Ukraine forevermore in this fight against Russia if Putin does come back for more. I'm sorry. I know I speak for a lot of people, though. I do not want my sons going over to Ukraine and risking their lives to make sure Putin doesn't violate his word and take another 15%. And we'd been holding out on that, saying we're not going to do that. And it appears like the breakthrough we've made is now we are. Well, so the United States has given something up and Putin's given something up on paper that he'll never live up to. And Ukraine is stuck with the newly shitty borders and really not much of a guarantee. Look, it's not going well. The end of it's not going well. The progress of it is not going well. And I think the U.S. getting more involved in guaranteeing Ukraine's security is a significant problem for us that the Republican Party is not going to embrace, or at least half of it.
Well, I'm not happy that Ukraine made itself a virtual NATO member, that we allowed that to happen, that we made it one, frankly. In a weird way, what they're doing here is they're solemnizing or formalizing something that happened without Trump's permission, without America's permission, without America's knowledge, really. I mean, the run-up to the Ukraine war happened sort of off in the shadows for most Americans. And the situation they were presented with was a fait accompli that they would never, I think, have voluntarily asked for. And it's a measure of how we screwed ourselves in my book, that such things would be considered.
Yes, it's reminding me of the Pottery Barn rule, right? Like if you break it, you buy it. And we're kind of acting like we broke it, and we kind of did. Not Trump, but Democrats and interfering in Ukraine in 2014 and their democratically elected president. And ever since, when we've had Democratic administrations trying to amp up NATO, trying to saber rattle that Ukraine was going to join it when they knew what Putin would do. And then Joe Biden, let's not forget, a minor incursion, maybe we could live with that, is what he telegraphed. And then we got something that plus a lot more, because it seemed to be a wink and a nod that Putin could get away with something. And then he took more than he was, quote unquote, offered. In any event, yeah, you're right. Like, we did kind of break it, and now Trump is trying to fix it. But I hate to see us fix it by giving even more than we've already given.
It's like marrying somebody and then finding you got to pay off their credit cards from before you were married. It really, he has inherited debts that were incurred by Obama, frankly, and then which were increased under Biden, who was essentially Obama's proxy. It's humiliating in a way that he should have to do so. But I guess in peace, everybody gets humiliated a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like I don't know. Tomorrow we're going to have Marjorie Taylor Greene on this show for the first time. And I'm actually really looking forward to talking to her. But like this, she's been sounding the alarm about, she doesn't have anything against Israel, but she thinks we're getting too involved, right? She thinks like, this is not America first. And you can times that by 10 when it comes to Ukraine. And I see her point. It's like the people making these decisions, the people who push Trump toward like getting more militarily involved and making more military promises and being more bellicose. Is it their sons who are going to have to go fight this, and daughters now? Because, by the way, our daughters can get drafted now. Thanks a lot, Joe Biden. Is it their kids who are going to have to fight? Because, I actually have kids who this would truly affect, and it's a no. I'm not sending them to the Middle East, and I'm not sending them to Ukraine. I have zero interest in doing that, and I think I speak for most Americans when I say that. But so, like, who's going to enforce these security guarantees? I thought the whole point of the land deal, where we were going to invest in their natural land minerals and all that in Ukraine, was like, so we'd have a stake there, and like Putin would be chastised out of doing anything more with Ukraine because he knew, oh my God, the United States owns half of it, or at least, these natural minerals, so I better not mess with it. I guess not, because like now we're saying we're going to provide security guarantees to Ukraine, which is what Zelensky's wanted. Anyway, I think it's not going particularly well. I think this thing does need to come to a close. If that requires shitty terms for someone, I'm sorry, but it needs to be Ukraine, not us. And Europe can for once step up to the plate and provide the guarantees, not us. We're not the world's policemen.
Well, one of the problems is that we've fought a war here without spilling blood. I mean, not that anyone wants American blood to spill, but, this was a cake and eat it too war in which we just paid money and we backed down the Russians. And we even fantasized we were going to overthrow Putin. Every couple of weeks he was sick or he was about to be deposed or whatever. American thought it was going to get one for free here, or, for the price of weapons. And
that is so true.
And we're not getting it for free. And it was our fantastic, eat more and lose weight fantasy that you could win a war against Russia without losing a soldier. And it turns out when you try to do those things, when you try to get it all, you actually lose. And we're losing something. You're right.
Mm-hmm. So Zelensky's now going to the White House, and I think we're going to have a very different experience with him there than we did the last time. He's already saying, this is only going to be brought to an end by strength, and President Trump is strong. I don't know what to expect out of today. I just think we're already too far down a line that gives us skin in the game, more skin than I think we should have to provide. But I think the odds of like another catastrophic meltdown at the White House with Zelensky there are pretty slim. Do you disagree? What do you think?
It's unclear who that guy works for and who he answers to, frankly. I mean, he had the temerity to insert himself in a presidential election. Remember him with
yes.
Josh Shapiro?
Signing the weapons.
Signing the weapons, as though he had some say in which president we elect. I mean, he has been one of the most impudent and, frankly, disrespectful world leaders we've ever dealt with. And he's supposed to be our ally. I think anything's possible with him. He could pull any stunt. He's done it in the past.
Gosh. Well, it's happening. So we'll keep our eyes on the Oval Office to see, what, if anything, goes down there. I do want to stay a little bit on Putin, but shift a focus because you went on Bill Maher's show on Friday night. And you were there with leftist Molly Jong-Fast. And she was very upset about the meeting with Putin on Friday. Here's just one of the things she said. She speaks for many liberals in this. Sal 11.
Crushed some norms having him walk across a red carpet while Trump clapped. I mean, that generally,
oh, come
Putin
on.
doesn't get...
Are we really going to go through this kind of bullshit? Like it's when Obama wore a tan suit and he saluted with coffee in his hand. Who gives a shit what he walked across? I mean, there's people dying over there.
That was good. That was good, Bill Maher. But then there was bad Bill Maher. There was a moment of bad Bill Maher where he got up in your grill, Walter, and he was wrong about this.
It was because of good Bill Maher. It was because of good Bill Maher that I felt I could speak to him reasonably, but he didn't like it the second time.
No, he did not, because then you guys got into Russiagate, switching from Russia to Russiagate or Obamagate, depending on your preference. But the meltdown of the whole story around Donald Trump and the alleged Russian collusion that's been happening in this country for the past 2 months, thanks to Tulsi Gabbard. So Bill Maher was not listening to you, Walter Kirn, when you tried to explain to him that what happened allegedly in 15-16 between Trump and Russia was not a scandal, and what the Democrats did to Trump around Russia in that same time frame and ever after is a scandal. And here's a little of how that went in SOT 4.
Which I think I don't think he was exactly a Russian agent, but, Russiagate was not, completely made up.
Well, Bill, there we disagree. I think we're finding out day by day that it was almost completely made up.
Oh, please. It's on tape. He's asking the Russians for help on tape, which he gave them that day. They released those emails that day that they hacked. He said, could you please hack some shit? They did it and released it that day to help him. So don't tell me there's no smoke. Let's not relitigate that year.
We are relitigating it because it's before a grand jury right now, and we'll find out who...
Okay. But let me ask a broader question, because first, I take your point that I think it's kind of a zombie lie that Trump is Putin's, bitch, because, he certainly was over-friendly to him for a very long time, considering who Putin is, a thug and a murderer.
In 2015, Obama met him, and nobody said anything in New York.
Met him. He didn't praise him. He didn't say he's the greatest guy in the world. I could read 20 compliments that Trump has given to him. He said he's a fun guy to be with. No, that's Epstein.
Okay. So what a red herring by Maher there, Walter, bringing up the Trump comments about, Putin, if you're listening, that's his evidence that Trump colluded with Putin. I mean, in a way, I appreciate him saying it, because that's what a lot of leftists think.
It's an insane and ridiculous assertion. If you think about the mechanics of that, Trump says something on TV. Putin, who happens to be watching American TV or whatever, says, hey, let's go hack them. Trump just asked for it.
Great idea.
Let's go do it. Oh, and then he somehow releases it back to the American media all in an afternoon. None of that happened. None of it could have happened if you want to think it through. But let's think about this. The Trump-Russia scandal, which was really Hillary throwing a shit fit over, having lost, but one that she started long before because she had all this email exposure and other things, has been used to keep us apart from Russia, to keep Trump from meeting Putin, to keep the run up to the Ukraine war, which was happening while Trump was president. Remember, they impeached him for just trying to talk to Zelensky. Remember? He the perfect phone call. Trump was hampered and put in manacles as far as Russia policy from the beginning by this series of gross exaggerations and outright lies, many of which are now the stuff of grand jury investigations. And I promise you will continue to be debunked and even shown to be conspiracies of some kind. Maybe not indictable ones, or maybe not ones that will end in prosecutions, but they may. And day by day, we're going to get that news, and we have been getting it. Bill Maher has apparently been on vacation all of August because we've had more case closed news about the ways in which the intelligence community and the law enforcement community, if you include the FBI, got together and with zero evidence and with this crappy Steele dossier, which is, less real than one of my novels, tried to keep this guy from taking office and then from holding it, and certainly keep him from negotiating as a peer with Putin. And Molly Jong Fast and Bill suggesting that no one has ever complimented Putin in the past. Hillary went there with a freaking button to hit a reset with Medvedev. They brought props. George Bush saw the good man that he was when he looked into his eyes, remember? Many people have had compliments for the Russian leader. And I can't even think of what Trump's are, really. He met him in Helsinki once, and they came around him and made it an almost impossible situation, and that was it. We've been kept
Bill
from
Maher
pursuing
has been
things.
on the wrong side of the Russiagate story from the beginning. I mean, and he's been a main pusher of the nonsense. Your cohort on your podcast, Matt Taibbi, wrote a long piece about it after that exchange with Maher, pointing out that when the whole, when Russiagate fell apart, and it was obvious that Mueller did not have the goods on Trump, Bill Maher had Eric Swalwell on and said to him, well, I don't need the Mueller report to know that he, meaning Trump, is a traitor. I have a TV. And as Taibbi put it, this has been his story ever since, and he too is sticking with it. I mean, that's like Bill, with all due respect to Bill, has been hashtag part of the problem on Russiagate, and therefore, not shockingly, I guess, cannot see its complete dismantling and really like all the motivations and the crafting of all the lies that are coming out day by day, like the revelations about the crafting. He cannot see it with objective eyes, and maybe isn't even trying. I don't know. But like the sneering, oh, come on to you. It's on tape, as though this has all been settled years ago. We saw and heard it with our own eyes and ears.
A lot of what these media people do, especially at the level of cable news and cable TV and network TV, is they give the audience permission to close its mind. You don't need to learn anything more about this. You already know. Stick with what we said 5 years ago, and we'll tell you if there's any revision. They do it with COVID. They do it with every issue. It always takes time. It always takes time to excavate the truth about issues, especially ones that have been presented as having only one side by the mainstream media. Then it takes years, between the establishment resistance and the media's resistance to get at the truth. Then as you get at it, they come out and say, it's old news. You already formed an opinion. Don't change it. If you want to change it, we'll let you know when. Until then, move on. And that's
we might change it when we get a new president in there who does exactly the same stuff, and then we'll see it entirely differently. We promise, as long as it's a Democrat in there. But you just listen. Trump tweeted out today, or Truth Socialed out today, something to the effect of, "I could have Putin give us St. Petersburg and Moscow, and this press would still be like, it's a fail." Somehow, whatever. We don't want the hassle of having all those beautiful river canals in St. Petersburg. We don't want riverfront property where we can sip our wine. It's a fail. He should have gotten a better city out of Russia. And you listen to the coverage of that Trump-Putin moment on Friday, and it's just, he's so right. It's glaring. This soundbite, I have a bunch of soundbites of people just ripping him. But here's one of, just take a listen. You'll hear why I'm playing it. SOT 18.
It was just very unusual, atypical, and I think we're all awaiting, the readout, because the way that it felt in the room was not good. It did not seem like things went well, and it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled.
A lot of the press corps that was there, they reported in the minutes and hours after the presser that they saw members of the administration like Carolyn Leavitt look ashen, almost frightened after what they had seen behind closed doors.
Leavitt appeared to be a bit stressed out, anxious. Their eyes were wide, almost ashen. This was not the way the president likes to do things. He likes to be the producer of this presidency.
Okay. There is zero chance that Caroline Leavitt was ashen or stunned with wide eyes. There's zero chance. Those last two sound bites, MSNBC. And by the way, Jackie Henrich of Fox News is like, he got steamrolled. It is customary to let the opposing president, the visiting president, speak first, to have the first shot at, saying anything because he's come to you. So that was one tradition that Trump actually honored. And the media, rather than saying Trump honored tradition here, he got steamrolled. She was ashen. She had big eyes. What bullshit. This is so crazy, Walter.
No, it is. It's like hearing a medium or some sort of spiritual reading of the thing. The feeling was bad. The spirits were angry.
The Ouija board said niet.
Yeah. Don't they have news to report? Why are they so uniformly ill-wishing for this?
Yeah.
I mean, let's get real. There must be some massive interest group that is ongoing, that predates Trump, and that has a lot at stake here in us failing to reach a peace accord under Trump. It's not just hostility to Trump. In fact,
it's a combo, right? Military-industrial complex and its control over, many pockets of our society. But the media, I think, comes by it in a way, honestly. They just hate Trump, and everything he does will be viewed through the negative prism. It's not that they have an active interest in seeing the military-industrial complex go on. It's like, I'm rooting against him. And in general, I'm rooting for war. I mean, in general, they know that they're supposed to root for war.
I mean, they always have, right? I mean, there isn't a war that they haven't been all for until Walter Cronkite famously soured on the Vietnam War late in the game. And, that's held out as some moment of towering conscience in our history. But the truth is, also, two of them came up with the word ashen at the same time. I know the vocabularies of these reporters. They're not that great. That was not a coincidence. What happens is these people are together more than they're apart, okay? They're in a gaggle. I remember the first time I went to a Republican convention, and I asked a reporter, I said, where are you seated? Where are you going to watch it? And they said, we're not actually going to the stadium. We're going to go in the viewing room where we all sit together and crack jokes about it and, get together our lines about what we're going to write. And that's what happened there. You had all these reporters kept together. They traded, impressions and adjectives.
Yeah, she looked ashen. And ashen.
So, it's groupthink divided up as though they all have they have separate heads but one body. And sometimes you wonder, is Trump really is it really Trump they hate, or is it perhaps that Trump, even at the very beginning of his term, promised to throw a wrench into what might be coming, which was a long prepared for conflict with Russia?
The folks over at MSNBC are not taking their humiliation well, meaning the Tulsi Gabbard revelations. I mean, we knew that they had pushed a false hoax on all of us with Russia. Rachel Maddow, chief among them. But we did a whole episode on Friday about how The Daily over at the New York Times, their podcast, did the most disgusting, dishonest episode I've seen in a long time with their compromised reporter, Michael Schmidt, who got a Pulitzer for his wrong reporting. I mean, his completely getting the story wrong, the bent of it wrong, stories still up that are wrong, that were so wrong he didn't repeat them in his own book about Russiagate. In any event, he then went over to MSNBC to whitewash his terrible podcast from the New York Times that had nothing but wrong statements in it. And she didn't even disclose that she was married to the guy. It's like total journalistic breach. She has him on, and then she lets him whitewash the story more. They whitewash it for the MSNBC viewers. And here is how MSNBC sounded now over the weekend and in the wake of the Trump-Putin meeting. Let's see if they're starting to get the story a little bit less wrong than they used to get it. Here's Eric Swalwell on MSNBC on the weeknight, Friday evening, SOT 14.
Well, if you're Europe, you're quite worried now because you just saw the president of the United States achieve zero. And they will have to ask themselves, what more are they willing to do, knowing that they, too, could be thrown under the bus if Russia ever moved farther west. But as far as objectives, I was hoping to hear that there would be a trilateral meeting. That didn't come out of this. I was hoping to hear there'd be a ceasefire. That didn't come out of this. And I was hoping to at least hear about the territory that would be proposed or exchanged by both sides. That didn't come out of this. Look, Letitia, I don't know if Donald Trump is or is not a Russian asset. I do know that at press conferences like this and like at Helsinki, he certainly acts like one. And that is cold comfort for anyone in the United States, particularly in our military, that the commander-in-chief would be so flattering of and so charming to a ruthless dictator like Vladimir Putin.
Oh, my God. Psaki, Nicole Wallace, all sitting there. I mean, why does Nicole Wallace always look like she just sucked a lemon before she went on the air? Just
training of some kind. It's training of some kind. She's not allowed to show emotion lest she might show, positive emotion.
Humanity. And they all sat there. They all sat there for that, Walter. They said nothing. Stop with the Russian asset nonsense. Just stop it, you nutcase.
It's starting to remind me of 1960s thrillers like 7 Days in May about a coup. He just spoke to the military of the United States and said, I think your boss is a Russian agent, or I don't know if he is, but you should be very disturbed by this. What does he want, a mutiny? What does he want? I mean, that is the kind of breathtaking language that used to be used by the right sometimes of like Jane Fonda during the Vietnam era.
Right, the true crazies.
Is she a commie or what? Or it was used by Joe McCarthy of Hollywood people. You're a red agent. You're in Hollywood to disrupt America's way of life. That is paranoid, crazy stuff. And to be talking to the U.S. military around the back of their commander-in-chief about the notion that he might be working for the enemy is that we've gotten used to that is crazy and dangerous.
Well, and here we go. The other narrative all over MSNBC was everything Tulsi has released, even Trump's meeting with Putin, is about covering up the Epstein scandal. This is all an effort to get us to move off of Epstein. Meanwhile, we've already moved off of Epstein. Like, it was a scandal. We hit the president hard. Many people on the right did. It wasn't just a leftist story. Then the left tried to make it all about Donald Trump. That's about when most of us were like, you're insane. Goodbye. And they're still holding on over on MSNBC that everything is a cover for the Epstein story. I give you Lawrence O'Donnell here in SOT 16.
Donald Trump will fly to Alaska to meet with a war criminal who he has called a genius in order to avoid questions about a pedophile who raped children while Donald Trump was calling him a terrific guy. It won't work.
I mean, some level, you got to give him some credits for those gymnastics. Those are some impressive moves. That's like the triple sow cow. I'm mixing now gymnastics and ice skating. In any event, it's impressive in its flexibility to get us from he's trying to end the Ukraine war and save lives to it's all made up to distract from Epstein, and he managed to get Vladimir Putin here to help him do that?
Let's remember that this latest round of Epstein obsession was started by Elon Musk. It wasn't started by the left. They didn't resurrect Epstein, but they saw an opportunity after Elon Musk, in the middle of some kind of a lover's quarrel with Trump, brought it up. Now, the NFL season is going to be a distraction from Epstein. Everything we do is Hurricane Aaron. And how is he avoiding anything? They're talking about it nonstop. Trump's avoiding it by going to Alaska. No, he isn't. They won't shut up about it.
He just sent his deputy attorney general to go interview Ghislaine Maxwell. The House Oversight Committee is trying to interview Ghislaine Maxwell. Listen, it's not ideal, but it's a weird way to completely cover it up.
Megyn, when Epstein died, 3 days later, I wrote an op-ed for the New York Times. They reached out to me out here in Montana because they didn't want to touch it back there in New York. They thought semi-crazy Walter out there in Montana can maybe respectably ask the question of whether everything's kosher about this death.
He's been alone with the moose and the bears long enough that he can get away with this.
Yeah, we'll put it on him. Let Mikey do it. And so let Walter ask the questions about Epstein. So I did. And I did it when the New York Times wouldn't touch it, when nobody would touch it. For years, I have researched this and followed it at an almost unhealthy level. And I'll tell you, for many years, you were called QAnon if you cared about Epstein, if you cared about pedophilia, if you cared about where are the missing children and so on. Suddenly, it's you're not a card-carrying Democrat unless Epstein is your greatest concern.
That's so true.
Where
so
were
annoying.
you people?
You're exactly right. Honestly, it's like they couldn't have had less interest. And if you said like Epstein didn't kill himself, then they'd be like, you're a true nutcase. There's something wrong with you. And now they're all in. Now you've got in-depth CBS News pieces deconstructing the prison cell video frame by frame. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. Here's what it doesn't show. Like, oh, hello. Welcome to the party. Come on in. The water's fine. It's great to see you, Lawrence O'Donnell. So glad you finally care about Epstein. But it's like, it's such a joke. And even in his world, like, think of it. How do you get to the point where Trump, in trying to negotiate a peace in Ukraine, like all of that, which started pre-Trump, this whole thing with Putin, the summit, like this is all to distract from Epstein. I mean, truly, I don't think you're appreciating his backflips enough, Walter. You're not giving him enough credit.
Lawrence O'Donnell's, you mean? Or yes. Trump's? Well, it is a desperate situation when they have to claim that an investigation into Russiagate that has literally been going on since 2018. I mean, Horowitz, Kash Patel, a lot of this evidence was locked up by John Bolton of all people in a safe. I mean, It's not as though Trump reached back into time and said, how can I go back and create a 6-year investigation that will cover up, that will distract from Epstein in May 2025.
And by the way, Walter, if what Tulsi had released, which did come on the heels of Epstein, had been a nothing burger, had been like she's trying to make something out of nothing, then maybe we'd say, all right, yeah, this is the classic, like, look over here. But it did not turn out to be that at all. There have been true bombshells in what she's revealed. And then the CIA director as well. Like, just ask your, co-host. Matt Taibbi's been amazing on all of this. So the nerve to try to be like, the whole thing is made up. Like, hello, I was open-minded to that on day one. I was. My audience knows that. Like, if there's no there, I will tell them there's no there. There's there. There's lots of there. There's there everywhere.
And we're probably going to see indictments. There's so much there because we have been told that this has gone to grand juries. And if these people are good politicians and good lawyers, they have some confidence that those grand juries are going to return indictments if they talk about it, in advance.
That's right.
And the biggest revelation of all was that the Russians supposedly knew back in the spring of 2016 that Hillary was planning on blaming, if Trump was nominated, she was going to blame him or try to attach him to Russia as a campaign strategy, which is exactly what she went and did. In other words, they caught them planning a hoax, and then they went ahead with the hoax.
Right, that's exactly right. We were debating this on our show on Friday with Aaron Mate and Michael Schellenberger, because Mate was like, well, I don't know about those two Russian emails that allegedly show one of Hillary's top guys saying she's got a whole plot. She's going to try to tie Trump to Russia. He goes, I don't know. That might be Russian disinformation. The Russian emails themselves say the analysis that John Durham came up with says they might have been an amalgam of other Russian documents showing that she was trying to do this. But Michael Schellenberger pointed out that some of the top officials within the intel agencies themselves were saying, no, we do believe that these are legit emails. But secondly, and most importantly, she did it. She did exactly that. So why should we doubt that the Russians knew she was going to do it? They called the shot Babe Ruth style, and then she did the exact thing.
Yeah. Oh, man. All I'll say is this. There is far more evidence for a Russiagate hoax than there was for Donald Trump as Putin's stooge. 1,000 times more at this point.
Well, and they're still grappling with that. And by the way, we have reason to believe that there will be disclosures this week relating to the media who were complicit in pushing these stories. So we're going to be watching John Solomon and all the other great reporters who have been neck deep in this for those reveals. Walter stays with me. Quick break first. What does feeling safe at home really mean to you? Maybe you thought good locks, maybe an alarm that would make some noise if someone broke into your home. But true security takes more, like one that works to actually prevent that break-in from happening in the first place. This is why I want to tell you about Simply Safe. It's about security that's proactive, not just reactive. Most security systems only react after a break-in, but Simply Safe's new Active Guard outdoor protection helps stop crime before it starts. With AI-powered cameras and live monitoring agents, suspicious activity is spotted in real time. If someone is lurking, agents can speak to them through the camera. They can trigger spotlights, that'll freak them out, and even call the police. No contracts, no hidden fees, trusted by over 4 million Americans. Monitoring starts at around $1 a day with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Visit simplysafe.com, that's spelled SIMPLI, safe.com/Megyn, and claim 50% off a new system with a professional monitoring plan and get your first month free too, okay? So you get 50% off if you enter the code Megyn. That's simplysafe.com/Megyn. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Walter, speaking of Russiagate, James Comey is in the news today. He could be getting indicted any day. And but his mind is in a more peaceful place. He's being reflective. He's thinking about what matters and has begun a Substack with this offering.
You see, Taylor Swift and I go way back. I went to my first concert of hers 15 years ago. I've been to a second, and I have helped financially support the attendance of a lot of family members at others. I'm in a family's Swiftie group chat. I know all her music, and I listen to it in my headphones when I cut the grass. So yes, I have a favorite of hers, although honestly for me it's a tie between All Too Well, 10-minute version, and Exile featuring Bon Iver.
There's more. Stand by. Watch.
Like a lot of you, I struggle with how to stand up to bullies without letting their meanness infect me and change me. I don't want us to become like Trump and his followers. Here, I am not an advocate for weakness. Of course we need to stand up to jerks and defend what matters. But I think we have to try to do that without becoming like them, which is what makes me think about Taylor Swift. While our elderly makeup-covered president is posting about whether Taylor Swift is still hot and declaring that he can't stand her, what's she doing? Living her best life. At my second Taylor Swift concert in Hartford, Connecticut, 14 years ago this summer, she sang a song about this topic, asking, why you gotta be so mean?
Oh my God.
And she spoke directly to the nasty people. I bet you got pushed around. Somebody made you cold. But the cycle ends right now, because you can't lead me down that road.
Is it over? Is it done?
Yes, man.
It's so cringy.
It's so creepy. It's like some strange person at church or a vice principal trying to relate to you, you know? They've got you in a room. You're 13 years old.
For the listening audience, Walter's doing the eyebrow raise and lower. Oh, hello, little girl. Thank you for coming back when I called you. First of all, James Comey is trying not to become a bully. James Comey, the one who just tweeted out a picture of 8647 Like, we don't want to become like the bullies who harass us. You actually are under investigation for possibly, it looked like to me and many others, calling for the murder of the sitting president. So maybe you needed more Taylor Swift that day. Maybe your demons got the better of you, Jim. But just the weird self-helpy tone and like a lot of you. And meanwhile, he's in a coat and tie, right? It's like you're trying to be this like, oh, shucks, Taylor's our girl. She's our muse for tough times. In your suit and coat, talking about how you went to see her when you were the head of Bridgewater and about to be made FBI director. There's too much weirdness for me to digest in one like sentence here, Walter.
That he's memorized Taylor Swift lyrics is one of the most embarrassing admissions I've ever seen an adult make. Also, he's standing against a wall that looks like he may not be a free man. I'm not sure where he, that could be almost anywhere in the world. Is he still in the United States? It's unclear. Also, unclear. I love how buying tickets for your kids is financially supporting people attending Taylor Swift concerts. Oh, what a fancy way of saying I gave my kids some money to buy tickets.
Right.
If he's such a giant
Everything
fan,
he does is so altruistic.
He hasn't been to a concert for 14 years, but he's her biggest fan? What? This makes me wonder also if there was a prearrangement with Taylor Swift. Would she agree to be name checked at length in this way? Or did he surprise her? Because she just became uncool by proxy. Like the last thing a teenager wants to do is go to the FBI approved concert. Did the FBI
by the way,
used to
what's
throw
with
rock?
Well, the way he's
jail.
talking about her is exactly the kind of language that would put a red alert on an FBI agent investigating someone. Like, she and I go way back. I've known her for 15 years. No, you don't know her. You went to a concert. That you don't know Taylor Swift. You saw her on a big screen at a concert. You and she have no relationship, sir. Step away from the Taylor Swift doll. It's very creepy. And it's amazing to me that we used to respect this man so much. And by the way, he's been in the business of ruining lives for a long, long time. Look what he's tried to do to Donald Trump. Right, with the Russiagate stuff. And now he actually wants to lecture us on being like nice and appealing to your better angels instead of becoming the bullies that affect us. We can't become the bullies. It's like you actually went after Donald Trump and tried to sick the entire FBI on him. You came up with false charges against him, which you knew were bullshit. Meanwhile, you ran cover for Hillary Clinton. And while you're lecturing us on being super sweet, you're calling him our elderly man wearing makeup who sits in the White House. Like, I'm not sure you're picking up what you're putting down there, Jim.
He could have used some makeup. Did you see how white the area around his eyes
One might even say ashen.
Yeah, one might say. Yeah, exactly. I would report stalker Jim Comey to the current FBI if I were Taylor Swift. I want. But also this, he seems terrified. That is some kind of appeal to pop culture, maybe to a jury, hoping that he'll get a Taylor Swift fan on his jury someday. That is the most odd choice of appeals when you are in legal peril that I've ever seen. And it can only be, in my estimation, because it didn't convince anybody out there who's a civilian, an attempt to make himself look human to a potential jury. Or one that's sitting right now in a grand jury room somewhere.
You cannot be bullied. You were the former FBI director. Like, that is literally the height of power, of law enforcement power, right, in the United States of America. You're unbullyable, James Comey. And I realize you're no longer in the role, but the reason people are interested in you is because you held that power for years. And it seems very clear, abused it, as we're learning more every day. The nerve to run out there and act like he's been bullied. And it reminds me of, I negative commentary about Beyonce not long ago. And some moron on Twitter said something similar, like, it's amazing to see the people Trump bullied become bullies themselves. I can't bully Beyonce. She's literally one of the richest, most famous, most successful artists in the world. It's not possible to bully her. And by the way, this is a McDonald's, madam. Like, she's on X complaining about barbs against other people. Like, go to Instagram if you're looking for soft talk, or maybe James Comey's Substack. But on Twitter, we throw sharp elbows. If you don't like it, get the fuck off. Sorry.
These people know something's coming. This was a very pathetic PR move. I don't know who advised it. I hope maybe one of his daughters was listening to a Taylor Swift album, or whoever it is in his family who attends these concerts. But this guy is about 6'8", by the way. Okay, he a 6'8" FBI director is in two ways an intimidating person. Mm-hmm. And now he looks frightened. And now he's making fun of other people's appearances. And he's, talking about not being dragged down into the dirt. Isn't Taylor Swift, by the way, famous for getting revenge on every ex-boyfriend that she's ever had? I mean, she's not exactly a pushover herself. I mean, she takes revenge on people after they break up with her, or whatever. In a way, it's a very Trumpian aspect of her personality.
She's not the only one who could potentially be indicted, who might just be out there trying to soften someone before that bad event occurs. Hillary Clinton made some obviously insincere comment about nominating Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize under very, very limited circumstances that no one's actually discussing. And there is some speculation, including from our own Link Lauren, that this may be an attempt to soften Trump on her. Take a listen here.
He gains nothing by capitulating to Putin. I understand from everything I've read, he very much would like to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. And honestly, if he could bring about the end to this terrible war where Putin is the aggressor, invading a neighbor country, trying to change the borders. If he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor, had to, in a way, validate Putin's vision of greater Russia, but instead could really stand up to Putin, something we haven't seen, but maybe this is the opportunity. Good faith efforts, let us say, not to threaten European security. If we could pull that off, if President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay. So then President Trump actually responded when he was asked about this. Watch.
In fact, did you see that Hillary Clinton yesterday said that if you got this deal done and not capitulate to Putin, that she would nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize?
If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, that was very nice. I may have to start liking her again.
Don't do it, President Trump. Do not buy it. Do not take the bait. And by the way, she said if Ukraine doesn't have to concede any of its territory, which is not a realistic condition, as she puts it. So she gives herself the out in the premise as she offers it. Your thoughts on whether she, too, is trying to soften someone who may have control in some way over her future freedom?
She's licking his hand. She came up and she gave a little tentative lick of the hand to show that there are circumstances in which she might team up with him. And Trump, one of Trump's charms and one of his weaknesses is that no matter who flatters him, I mean, if Charles Manson came out and said he loved Trump, Trump would say, Manson isn't a bad guy.
It's not all bad.
He really does respond to it. And I thought he was a little too soft on her, because she either did bad things or she didn't. And what she thinks.
She's trying to ruin your presidency. She would have loved for you to be in jail for a fake, made-up for hoax controversy. What are you saying? It was like obviously off the cuff, but absolutely no. There will be no softening on Hillary Clinton. None.
Well, let's hope not. I mean, if the goods are there, they're there, and it doesn't matter if she comes and kneels at your doorstep.
Correct.
But my sense is that the real peace negotiation in the world right now is between Hillary and Trump. The Zelensky and Putin-Trump negotiation may have already been settled behind the scenes, but Hillary and Trump and James Comey and Trump are actively engaged in negotiations.
And that one can never be settled. All right, now while we're on the subject of possible indictments, we are looking at an update on the possible indictments of Adam Schiff and Letitia James. New York State's Attorney General Tish James is, and Adam Schiff, now the senator from California, but longtime House of Representatives member. The special prosecutor, special attorney Ed Martin, who's been appointed by the DOJ to look into both of those cases, was spotted checking out Tish James's home in Brooklyn on Friday. He went out there. This is the home. She's got a couple of problems. She's got one home that she said was her primary residence, I think down in Maryland, which it isn't. She lives in New York. She's the New York State Attorney General. But she said it was her primary mortgage because you can get, the allegation is, you can get a more favorable interest rate or mortgage rate if it's your primary residence. And the allegation is she lied in order to do that, which is mortgage fraud. Her defense is it was a mistake. Virginia, I keep mixing up Maryland and Virginia. Her defense is it was an honest mistake, and I had disclosed to the mortgage broker 2 weeks earlier that it was not going to be my primary residence. That's one of her problems. Another of her problems, and by the way, this is not the complete list, because she's also getting investigated for abusing the system in going after Donald Trump's business. That's a separate inquiry by the DOJ. But before we get there, we've got the inquiry into whether, in getting this house in Brooklyn and a mortgage on that one, she lied and said that this building has 4 units. Because the truth is, we are told, it has 5 units. It's a 5-unit dwelling. And she is accused of buying this property, 296 Lafayette Avenue, and misrepresenting it again on her mortgage applications as having only 4 units, not 5, which allowed her to qualify for loans with better interest rates and lower down payments. So Ed Martin, the DOJ's Ed Martin, goes out there and kicks the tires on her home. Do we have that video? I thought I saw that here on our list. Yes, here it is.
You tell me why you're here.
We're interested in the houses.
You're not interested in the houses. We know who lives here.
Is this like Second Empire?
It's just a track house. That's what all of these things are.
I know, but when was it built, you think?
They're built before 1899.
Oh, so, okay.
Why are you being so disingenuous about what you're here for? You're not here about
what business is of yours, nosy neighbor?
Here. It's my neighborhood. It's my block. I have a right to know what you guys look like. You're
happy.
No, you don't.
Capacity.
I'm just happy to be on a block looking at a house.
That's not true. Why won't you be honest?
No, he is happy.
Well, why won't you be honest with me about what you're doing? You are acting suspicious.
Oh my God.
In front of my neighborhood.
I'm just looking.
And you're not telling me what you're doing. That's not true.
Interesting houses. It's an important house.
I don't answer to you, bad dye job lady. What? Say again?
Can you imagine what she was like during COVID? I mean, she was probably walking around the supermarket, did you touch that cantaloupe?
Yeah.
Why aren't you wearing gloves? So many Americans learned to be junior detectives and cops in the last few years, and now they are underemployed.
Ed Martin needed to give her the line my mom used to give me when I was little, which was, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. You're next. Shut up or you're next, lady.
Mind your own beeswax was my mom's term.
I don't answer to you, you cretin. Shut up. Leave me alone. I'm Ed fucking Martin. I'm here to investigate the Attorney General, but it's none of your damn business. Go read the New York Post like everyone else. He's a little Tish James defender out there trying to cross-examine Ed Martin. Okay, sister, you're a real tough guy. Having said all that, I do appreciate the questions because, I also want to know the answers.
I thought they showed endless good humor with her. I mean, she was pushing it. She wanted them to lose their temper. And there was somebody filming. Remember, you always forget, whenever you see something like that, that means there's somebody that you're not seeing holding up a camera. And she was performing for that person and trying to get their goat, and they weren't buying it, you know.
And she wound up on the Megyn Kelly show, so good for her. But do we think that we will likely see indictments? Because grand juries right now in Virginia and Maryland, the two jurisdictions where she conducted this nonsense, and maybe Brooklyn as well, I don't know, are currently weighing criminal indictments for James and Schiff, respectively, over the allegations, because he too he's accused in Maryland of doing something similar, declaring the Maryland home his primary residence when it wasn't. He lived in California. So both of these two got second homes, said that they were primary mortgages, and are under investigation right now. Do you think we are likely to see indictments?
Yes, I do. Because the supposed felon, Donald Trump, the 34-time convicted felon, was convicted for a process crime, a documentary crime, misfiling his payoff to Stormy Daniels. In other words, it was a paperwork crime. And these are paperwork crimes, which actually are a little bit more in the fraudulent sense because they save money for the people. And it isn't just an attempt to look good or whatever Donald Trump was doing. And so why not? I mean, game theory suggests that if you play tit for tat, you stay even. Why let them get ahead of this process? You know, why not make them 34-time convicted felons too? If that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be.
Fair rules. Here's Ed Martin himself on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox, speaking to the visit that he paid to Tish James's home, SOT 24.
Well, you went to Letitia James's home this week. You were in New York.
Yeah, look, I'm a prosecutor, and when I do these cases, I was in New York I was in Newark, actually, New Jersey, for some meetings, and I went over to New York for another meeting, and I went by there. One of the referrals is about that property that she has, is a very prominent neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I wanted to lay eyes on it. I think most people, if you're prosecuting something, you're careful. I didn't go there and announce it. Some woman came storming up and shooting video and talking to me, but I wanted to see the property, and there's a number of other aspects of these cases where you got to get a sense of what is actually at stake.
Do you have a grand jury in these cases?
Let me say, when you get a criminal referral, one of the tools you have is a grand jury, and I'll leave it to you to infer what I mean.
So, yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, they portray everything Donald Trump does as revenge, but doing it second doesn't mean you're taking revenge. It just means you're evening the scales. I doubt she would be in this situation, okay, if she had not prosecuted him in the way she did. At the same time, our politics is going to either settle down or it's going to get really petty. And it's going to get really petty for a while before it settles down, is my prediction.
Okay, there was another visit to one of Tish James's homes. This one was paid by the Daily Caller to the home she has in Virginia. So it's like, I can't keep track of all her homes. This is New York State's public servant, by the way. She's got the home in Brooklyn, which she said was a 4-unit dwelling, which is really a 5-unit dwelling. Then she's got the home in, again, Virginia. And that one, she said, was her primary residence, but it's not her primary residence because she lives in New York. So presumably that's a third home because I don't think she lives in that Brooklyn home. And here's what happened when the Daily Caller, when this story first broke, went out to take a look at that home down south.
Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Goodbye. You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids are around here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are,
Don't
because
worry
there's
about who's occupants. That's none of your business.
Well, there are connections to New York Attorney General Letitia James.
That doesn't matter. You're trespassing.
Are you related to Letitia James?
Do you know her?
You're trespassing. Go in the house.
Do you know Letitia James? No? Okay.
You're trespassing.
No comment. Thank you,
Don't
ma'am.
pull up to my house no more.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a good one.
It's gonna be powered.
Be well. Be well. Hello there, ma'am.
No comment. You're trespassing.
No comment?
Yeah, you're trespassing.
Okay, well, who lives here?
You're trespassing.
Who lives here, ma'am?
No comment. Okay.
So that was the Daily Caller trying to figure out whether Tish James lives in either of these properties that could be her primary residence. At the first property, they found, well, at both, they found that James does not appear to be even a resident of either home, much less have it be her primary residence. One neighbor of the first property they went to told Daily Caller that he believes a black woman and children inhabit the home, which had a basketball hoop in the driveway, but did not recognize Tish James when shown a photo. A second neighbor commented only to say that it's not the lady from New York. So it's not Tish James living there. At the second property, none of the residents of the neighboring homes knew much about the inhabitants, but it doesn't seem like anybody recognized Tish James. I'm sorry, Walter, but like, if you are going to be placed in a position like Tish James has as Attorney General of the United States, by the way, same rules for James Comey, and you wield that power in a way where you are satisfying your own personal or political vendettas, you deserve every ounce of pain you get once those enemies themselves are empowered. And it's not that crimes can be made up, but unless your business is squeaky clean, you're going to get it and you're going to deserve it.
She's a lawyer. She's not only a lawyer, she's a lawyer for the public. You know, she's an officer of the court and she's a representative of the people. And she's playing it this way. That gives, she has extra responsibility. She has a duty to be worthy of those offices. And she's a bad landlord too. Did you see that yellow house? That thing needs a coat of paint. I mean, I would be embarrassed to own that house if I was the landlord and be renting it out.
She's got other attentions like Donald Trump. That's what she's worried about. That's why she salivates when she looks at 40 Wall Street. Oh, I can't wait until I seize it. That'll be another place where I can commit another mortgage fraud. She denies it all and demands proof. President Trump just met with President Zelensky, meaning, glad-handed, as he arrived. Here's a bit of that.
The best I have.
We're shaking hands.
Ready, face? Every step. President Trump, showing your message to the people of Ukraine and the world.
He has a suit on.
We love them. We love them.
Russia continues to attack civilians defending Kharkiv.
Thank you very much, everybody.
President Zelensky wearing a turtleneck with a suit coat. So that's an improvement off of the last go-round, I think. And standing next to President Donald Trump, who is kind of nice to the reporters, screaming out questions to him there about Russian President Vladimir Putin, not answering, but seemed to be in a good mood and said, we love them, about the world leaders from Europe who are attending for today's meeting. Now all the drama will happen inside, and we will keep our eyes on that just to make sure it doesn't go off the rails as it did the last time. Okay, let's keep going because there's other stuff happening. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, is one of the people nominated by Donald Trump for a Kennedy Center Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And that's nice. Everybody knows that song. Literally everybody in the world knows that song. It's been celebrated for decades. And so good for her. That's not exactly how the left is reacting. Here is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's Tia Mitchell and her thoughts on this award. SOT 33.
I do believe, as much as the Trump administration has attacked DEI, I think they wanted a person of color on the list of Kennedy Center honorees. And to me, the fact that Gloria Gaynor is the one person of color on the list indicates that they struggled to find a person of color who would agree to be on the list, because she doesn't have a huge body of work, which is what the Kennedy Center usually picks, is people who are icons in their genre of the arts. And she's basically a one-hit wonder.
Okay. Anna Navarro, too, urges Gloria Gaynor to reject the honor, saying she's a goddess and deserves all the flowers that come her way. But I wish she wouldn't accept an award from the hands of a man who has attacked the rights and history of women, people of color, and LGBTQ. The gay community in particular helped turn her signature song into an anthem. Trump is a stain on the prestige and significance of the Kennedy Center honors. Don't do it, Gloria. So now there's pressure. This is a new era. Pressure on the awards nominees in the Trump era to reject the honors that they're being offered because Trump's evil, and now they're against what they perceive as DEI.
Oh, well, they want to have it both ways. They make all the rules, don't they? They tell you when you can receive an honor and when you must, and they tell you when you shouldn't and when you mustn't. And they do it from on high, and they do it to people who've worked hard all their lives. And the answer to that for any self-respecting artist should be F you, go away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing they notice about her is her race, right? But at the same time, they want to say that she's a token, basically. That's what they're saying. She's a token. You can't have it both ways. Yet they always want it both ways. And first of all, and also Sylvester Stallone, we know he was going to get one. Who are the other people there? Kiss. Now, that was the one I felt a little odd about.
What do you mean? They totally deserve it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the Kiss is a bit of a novelty band too. I mean, they're not, they're not.
But that's another one everybody knows. Literally everybody on earth. Like, they revolutionized the genre in some ways. Nobody was looking like that or acting like that. You say Kiss in the context of rock, everybody has an image in their head. They really are iconic. My
point is this: that commentator, she derogated Gloria Gaynor. Gloria Gaynor, the only black person on that list, was also the one who was unqualified, that person said.
According to them, right.
Why didn't she go after anybody else? That's a horrible reality of these racist commissars or these anti-racist commissars, is that they will tell you when you're an Uncle Sam and they will tell you when you're a shining light, and they determine it, and you're not an individual, and they don't let her be one. She has to be suddenly a representative of everybody, and she can't just be Gloria Gaynor, singer.
That's so true. It's so true. And I don't know Gloria Gaynor's politics at all. I know Sly Stallone leans right. I think Gene Simmons does too, of Kiss. So maybe Trump did have some sort of hey, let's see what conservatives have been ignored by the Kennedy Center for decades and see if we can right some of those wrongs, like elevate some of our people who have been completely rejected by the leftists who've been running this thing since its inception. What's wrong with that? That's awesome. He should do that. There are so many amazing conservative filmmakers and songwriters and performance artists and so on up and down the line who will never be honored under the old system. Because as we saw from all the firings he did, it was a bunch of progressives who only believe in honoring their side. It was like Bruce Springsteen, back to the Kennedy Center. Oh, sure, what a shock. So why not? I don't know what her politics are, but she must have done something that Trump agreed with. These people are the ones who leapt right to it's their skin color because they see everybody through that lens. They can't imagine that Gloria Gaynor, Trump's got his playlists. He feels very strongly about music. She's probably on it, to be honest. And he's probably like, get Gloria. I love her.
I think Trump knows more about Gloria Gaynor than James Comey does about Taylor Swift, probably. And I think he loves the sentiment of "I will survive." That's secretly why I think he might have chosen it.
That makes sense too.
Here's a guy who survived an assassination attempt, who's been through everything, and she sings the anthem of getting through tough things. And frankly, suddenly it's a demerit that she was a hero to the gay community. That should be a wonderful thing.
She owes it to them now to reject this honor that's being paid to her. Otherwise, and you mark my words, if she doesn't, I don't think she's commented on this yet, but if she doesn't reject it, she's going to be out. There's going to be leftist pushback. How dare you? How could you? Same as we've seen like some football players and other athletes who go to the White House. Some of them get blowback, like it was a betrayal of them to accept this honor of shaking hands with the president.
You know, the guy can't win. If she shakes hands with Putin, he's giving him too much credit. If he shakes hands with Gloria Gaynor, she's a traitor for letting him shake her hand. You know, these culture police want to look at every move that's made before the cameras and before the American audience, and they want to award tickets and they want to discipline it, and they want to be in control. And one of the reasons there is a Donald Trump is this ridiculous, overbearing, condescending arrogance about who can do what, who can go where, who can be liked by whom. And we're tired of it.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, by the way, the creators of Hamilton, they got a Kennedy Center Award in the year that they created Hamilton. Now, yes, it was a smash Broadway hit, but a lot more people know I Will Survive than know Alexander Hamilton. No. Like, I'm sorry, but the relative scale of success favors Gloria Gaynor. But nobody was complaining when Hamilton got awarded by the Kennedy Center honors, because that was a play that made all the founding fathers Black and Hispanic and had them sing about, you know, the creation of our foundational documents. So that was okay because it was elevating minorities. But if you're a minority who elevates herself just with great talent and a great song, then that's not okay because it's evil orange man who's honoring you. I'm like trying to keep up with the rules. Minorities can be honored for honoring other minorities as long as it's a white president named Biden or maybe Trump. I guess Trump was the president in 2018. Was he being racist then? Like, no, wait, Trump wasn't in charge of the Kennedy Center in 2018. He still let the libs have it. So I guess we were still playing under their rules. It's very hard to keep up, Walter. If you are an artist who would like to accept a Kennedy Center award, how do you do the calculation? What is the math?
Well, you first call up MSNBC and say, can you arrange a panel and determine whether or not I should be able to get this award or not? And
right. What does Anna Navarro think?
Yeah, I'll be sitting here down in the slave cabin waiting for the master of the plantation to tell me whether I can go up to the house or not.
That's right.
I mean, also, one thing I know about music, some of the greatest popular musicians have no hits. Gloria Gaynor, whose work I'm afraid I don't know that well, could, for all I know, be one of the most inventive and dynamic popular musicians of our time. Just because somebody knows her for one hit does not mean she hasn't had a wonderful, deep, and meaningful career. And so
that's a good point.
For those people to simply slag her off as a one-hit wonder like that is, I think, deeply insulting and arrogant on their part.
It's amazing. It's like if Megyn Kelly looked at the Kennedy Center honorees under a Joe Biden presidency, or really at any point prior to Trump taking it over, and said that person's only there because of DEI, they'd say that's racist. But they can say it when it's a Trump nominee because it's just factual. No, that's just obvious. Trump would never nominate a Black woman for her talent. That's really what they're saying. And they get away with it. It's fine. Like, of course, right, Gloria Gaynor can't possibly be there for her talent. It's because Trump is secretly doing DEI. These people are what they accuse the right of being. We have proof of it every day. Stand by. Quick break. And on that front, we have an amazing story coming up after this quick break. Let's be honest. America can still be a dangerous place, and you cannot afford to wait for help. Sure, you could use a firearm, but in today's America, defending yourself with deadly force could have legal consequences. According to FBI data, 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. And that's exactly why many are turning to Burna. Burna is proudly American, hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. These less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by hundreds of government agencies, law enforcement departments, and private security companies. Over 600,000 Burna pistols have been sold, most to private citizens who refuse to be victims. Burna launchers fire rock-hard kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas and pepper projectiles capable of stopping a threat from up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods. and Burna can ship straight to your door. Take responsibility. Protect your future. Visit Burna.com right now or your local Sportsman's Warehouse. That's BYRNA.com or your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Visit now and be prepared to defend. Look, it can be hard for a lot of parents to get their kids interested in ideas that actually matter. They can be lectured all day long about freedom and responsibility, our country's founding, but if their eyes glaze over, then nothing's going to stick. But let me tell you about Tuttle Twins. Their new family starter pack makes these big ideas click for kids through their storytelling approach. These are fun adventures where the lessons come alive. Kids experience the ideas in a story. They understand them, they remember them, and they can explain them back to you. The Family Starter Pack includes all 14 of the original Tuttle Twins storybooks, covering topics like free markets, individual liberty, and personal responsibility, plus both volumes of America's history, so your kids can learn the truth about our founding from original sources, not political spin. It's everything you need to give your kids the education and values they deserve, and they'll actually enjoy it. Right now, there's a special deal on the Family Starter Pack. Go to TuttleTwins.com/MK. That's TuttleTwins.com/MK and get your set today. Walter, getting a little color from inside the White House as Zelensky and European leaders meet with President Trump. Peter Doocy firing off a question to Donald Trump about what if it goes a certain way. Listen here.
Is this the end of the road for American support for Ukraine? Is today's meeting deal or no deal?
I can never say that. It's never the end of the road. People are being killed, and we want to stop that. So I would not say it's the end of the road. No, I think we have a good chance of doing it.
Okay, so that's good. That's classic Trump too, right? Like, it's never the end. Like, I'll decide when it's over. Then There was a funny moment where at the last meeting in February, a reporter for Real America's Voice, Brian Glenn, gave Zelensky a hard time about not wearing a suit. Well, he was there again today. And as I mentioned, Zelensky is wearing close to a suit. And the following exchange took place between those two men, same two men.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good on you.
I said to the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's I remember that.
Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed you.
Maybe yours is much better.
That was funny. So Zelensky says, you're in the same suit. I changed, but you didn't. That's good. This is getting off on a better note, Walter, than the last time, right? Like, he's giving it some jazz out to the reporters, and Trump seems in a good mood. I feel better.
Right. Maybe Hillary Clinton will have to make that nomination. I mean, she did put too many conditions on it for it to ever be real, but America should be delighted that this is the mood. It doesn't look like a grim, let's go on with the war mood. They look like they maybe have a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And I think we will all be relieved if that's true. I think this has been a weight on us unconsciously and consciously and financially that we haven't properly reflected on, because it came right on the heels of COVID, this Ukraine war. You know, I mean, in some ways, it maybe replaced COVID, and we were tossed into it. And I want it off my shoulders as an American. I want this fear for my children off my shoulders. I want this financial weight. I want to start thinking about the future again, not paying past due bills.
Yeah, amen. Okay, so this is the thing I teased before the break. Speaking of the left and their wacky views on race, there's this show called Surrounded where you can go and you can choose the premise that you want to debate, and they will surround you with critics who get to like sit in the chair and debate you on various points. They asked me to go on there. I said no, because to be honest, like, I'm just too open-minded. That's genuinely how I am. If somebody gives me like a good idea that I think is, I'll be like, that's a great point. Yes, maybe I was wrong. Like, it's not my thing to just like hold on to my positions and fire blast anybody who feels differently. In any event, they brought on this woman, Amanda Seales. This is a woman who is extremely woke. She's got her master's degree from Columbia. She's an actress, comedian. She had shows on Nickelodeon, MTV2, HBO. She had her own stand-up comedy special on HBO. And she is very woke. And all you need to do is take a listen to her to figure that out. So the topic for the first part of the show was, it is undeniable, this is her position, that reparations are just and necessary. Did I mention she's a black woman? She's a black woman. And everyone in the audience, I believe, are black conservatives. So it was a thing of beauty because woman after man after woman sat down across from this woman, Amanda Seales, and unleashed cans of reality on her. And she did not know what hit her because liberals never debate outside of their circles. Like they never have their ideas challenged. And yet this woman did. To her credit, she went on the show, and here's a sampling of how that went. South 34.
You can give everyone here like a $50,000, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently, a $50,000 check. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now.
Oh my God.
Okay, so on a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism. And we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off.
Okay, she's just living up to so many tropes there, like laughing at him like she's blowing him off like he's a laughable character. You're scary. Like you're so misinformed. Everything he said was right. But you're so misinformed, you're scary. You need to think of me like your mama. And like the respect I command is basically what she was saying. And then we are a systemically racist country because we have been from the beginning. We haven't been equals from the onset. Okay, so we're not equals today. And a lot of the black conservatives there were like, we have a black president. So another guy goes, we had a black vice president. I think she was black. Anyway, but these guys, these young people, guys and gals, Walter, were not having it.
Can you imagine if I said to someone who was arguing with me, you got to treat me like I'm your daddy? What? I mean, she lost it right there. And also, it's not a debate if you hold that your side is self-evident, that it can't even be argued. How dare you dispute me? How dare you have another point of view? That kid was impressive. I feel like every day of my life is Surrounded, frankly. I don't go on shows like Surrounded because if I go on Bill Maher, it's like being on Surrounded.
It's
if
true.
I walk out to the Starbucks, it's like being on Surrounded. But it's guys like that who have thought through their positions, who are taking endless hell because they are black and a conservative, who have to work out their debating points to a level that almost no one else has to. And my hat is off. And my hat is off to him because even though he was in the more aggressive mode because of the layout of that show, he spends most of his day surrounded.
Yes. All right. Here's another one. This is 37. Watch this. I think this is a different young man. Can't remember. Watch.
The black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the black home. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Stop.
Let's talk about that.
None of this is gonna work if y'all are just gonna sit here and make up shit.
It's
not gonna work. No, a debate has to be in facts.
You're putting off emotional liberalism right now.
I am not putting off emotional liberalism. You're putting off unfounded lies
That's what y'all
based
do. Y'all
in
start saying
conservatism.
Misinformation. Remember they did the misinformation thing? Oh, by
I don't know if I'm gonna last.
We're selling our own people today,
I don't know if I'm gonna last.
You probably won't last with me.
I won't, because your ignorance is so overwhelming.
That's liberals. Y'all start name calling when y'all getting defeated in an argument.
Calling. You won't have an argument because you keep cutting me off.
So interesting. Now he was going to the place you are not allowed to go, saying there's something in black culture that's toxic, that's leading to bad results, and we have to get honest about it. It has to do with fathers not being in the home. And I can't remember if it was this gentleman, because I watched most of it, or another one who was raising, like, what happened with Asians. They were immigrants too, but they have a different approach toward education and, work ethic, and they've done very well in this country that they've adopted. And she was like, you cannot compare the Asians to the blacks who were slaves, and basically kind of acknowledging with a wink and a nod, somehow they're under some challenge that nobody else is under, from which they cannot escape. That's what she would argue. And those around her were saying, yes, we absolutely can. But once again, you're making up shit. And he was ready for it, right? You're basically an emotional liberal, bringing up emotional liberalism as a defense. And all she could do was just say, wrong, unfounded.
Yeah, whatever false sense of confidence caused her to go on Surrounded was completely exposed there. I mean, she has nothing as a debater. She has nothing as a proponent of her side. And it's good to see the Maoism turned on its head and the struggle sessions go the other way every once in a while.
It was amazing. These kids were citing Thomas Sowell and so many others who, finally their ideas are getting heard, and that's all that's required. You listen to Thomas Sowell, you believe in Thomas Sowell. You listen to Shelby Steele, you believe in him. And it's happening. I was really encourage everybody to go and watch the whole thing. Walter, thank you, my friend. Great to see you.
Thank you.
We're back tomorrow for the first time ever with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Looking forward to that.